All right, everybody. I'm Johnny Macabre. With me is my co-host, Jesse Gilbert, and we have April Burril, Chainsaw Sally, as our special guest this episode of Monthly Macabre. So, April, thank you for joining us this month. So you are you're most known for Chainsaw Sally. I would say one of the biggest indie horror icons, really. Just a very, very cool character.
Definitely.
Yeah, the character's got some magic. It's weird. It's nothing we expected to happen, but I'm very happy that she keeps kicking and is hopefully evolving into something even crazier pretty soon.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things we want to talk about this episode. Is I know that you've had the standalone movie, a bunch of different appearances in other movies, the two seasons of the live action series, and you have an upcoming animated series.
Yeah, God, I can't wait. It's going to be so awesome.
I am really looking forward to that. It's been a little while
hilarious.
Coming.
Yeah, I mean it takes forever, and silly us, we didn't realize it was going to take even longer with an animated thing than than live action, of course, because there's a lot more moving pieces. But I mean, the nice thing is that there's I'm not allowed to say any names or anything yet, but we have a very solid company that's going to be putting this out, and I mean, everything's going to happen. It's just waiting for friggin' ever. And every time we get a little discouraged about it, we just remember that it took Bruce Campbell, who is Bruce Campbell, 10 years to get his Ash series on. So if it took him that long and he's Bruce Campbell, then, it's only been, I think we've been in talks for this. Well, we started talking about it 6 years ago. We only started really getting in with this group in the last few years. Because it's gone through a few different companies. And
for those unfamiliar, can you explain Chainsaw Sally a little bit to some of our listeners?
Can I? Yeah, okay, so Chainsaw Sally, she doesn't think she's a bad guy. She thinks she is basically ridding the entire world of assholes and idiots, and she's just doing everyone a service. It's just that her idea of justice is really bloody and, usually involves a chainsaw or some other power tool or whatever's handy that can, I think one of our taglines for season 2 of the show was "Everything's a weapon if you push hard enough."
Perfect. I love it.
Because, I ended up killing somebody with a spoon.
Nice.
That's great. I still need to see season 2. It's really hard to find. I have season 1.
Yeah, it is. It's because we didn't give that. I mean, season 1 we let Trauma take over the distribution because we just didn't feel like dealing with it. We wanted to move on with other stuff. And season 2 we held on to. So I think we're going to work on getting another. We're talking about getting Blu-rays done of it because everybody wants Blu-rays. To which I'm like, well, I know how low budget this is. Do you really want to see it on Blu-ray? But apparently everybody does. So I guess we'll try that. But yeah, we want to get another release of that done because there's been a lot of people looking for it. I'm like, I'm sorry, we ran out. Everyone bought it. Y'all bought it. It's all your fault. I don't know what to tell you. I think a while ago we actually had it streaming just for a treat on the Sally YouTube channel. Jimmy O, the creator, had it up. So I don't know if we'll do anything like that again, but
I remember you guys let me have it up on my very short-lived video on demand channel, I Bleed Indie. You guys let me have it up on there. But, that didn't last long. That site just was not making any money.
Yep. Yeah. It's hard to do that stuff.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, we were hoping that we were going to be able to draw in people just with like word of mouth, just focus on that, that indie horror niche, but it lasted like 3 months. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Exactly. It is. I mean, just kind of gotta. Okay, this thing's not working. Can't get bogged down in it. Just move on to the next thing, and
Right.
whatever.
So, how many episodes is the animated series going to be for at least the first season?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know how many they're actually going to want in a season because they haven't gotten that specific. There are a bunch written. I would guess it's probably going to be like 10 to 12 a season because that seems to be the normal amount. I think they're asking for 10. But, I mean, Jimmy's got tons written, and geez, them curves are so funny. So I cannot wait to start doing
animation. I mean, animation opens a few more doors, I would think. I mean, animation, obviously when you're looking at like TV, I mean, they're going to look at something that has the production value of Chainsaw Sally and unfortunately turn it down just because, it's a low budget live action. But you really can't, with animation, it's going to look good no matter what. It's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Is that something that you...
At the very least, it'll either be on, it might be end up on Hulu or maybe Netflix, because Netflix does a lot of their own streaming stuff. But I mean, the company that we're working with, they can. I'm confident that it's going to be somewhere where people can just go and watch it and not have to dig around.
Nice. Very cool.
So that's
I'm
awesome.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Now, aside from the animated series, is there anything else you're working on? I did see you had a couple new movies on your IMDb.
I did. I haven't done any movies recently, so I'm not sure which ones they are.
I saw one like Bad Kitty or something.
Bad Kitty. That has not gotten made. That was one that we started working on. Well, we did a script for, by we I mean Jimmy, wrote a script for like years ago, but we never actually went forward with it. So I don't know how it ended up on IMDb. Now, I think the last thing I did might have been The Hospital, or I can't remember. It's been a couple years since I've done a movie, so we've pretty much been focusing on getting the cartoon off the ground and doing our own other artistic pursuits just here.
I know you were in. I saw that movie, Camp Killer, which I thought was really good.
Yes.
That was you were
the
in
other
there
one
with,
that I was
with
trying
Ari.
to think of. Yes, I love Ari so much. He's so fun. Yeah, and Camp Killer.
He's just a great guy.
Oh, he is. Every time we are at a convention together, we have the best time. He's so fun. He's just a big kid. He's really fun to play with.
And for our listeners, that's Ari Lehman, the first Jason.
Yes. First Jason, the one popping out of the lake with the funny eyeball. That guy. So now he's got long wavy hair and impressive mustaches.
Who even has a band called First Jason.
Yes, a really good band. And he plays a machete guitar. You cannot beat that.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw, but I'm actually I'm one of the producers on that upcoming Jason Goes to Hell documentary.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, we're really, really excited for that. It's really coming along great.
That sounds awesome. So on that one, are you what are you doing? Are you interviewing Jason? Because I haven't seen it, so I'm just asking.
Well, we're interviewing a lot of the cast and crew for Jason Goes to Hell. I'm actually producing alongside original director Adam Marcus. Yeah, so we're it's the 25th anniversary of the film coming out, so we're doing kind of a making of documentary for it.
Oh, so it's specifically for that one?
Yes.
The Jason Goes to Hell one. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
It's my friend Nicholas Hunt's project. He's directing it and everything.
Yep, that sounds pretty good. So is Ari sticking his head into that at all?
I don't believe so. I don't think we have Ari in it.
Okay.
But I definitely do want to see more with him.
He's not in that movie, but But just to get back to Camp Killer, I don't know why that didn't pop into my head right away. Camp Killer, the film with Ari in it. the script was written by Sean Jones, who was he's had this script for years and years, and it's actually a pretty cool concept, and I don't know how much I can say without giving it away, but people should watch it just because it's an interesting take on slasher movies, and it's just an interesting way to look at them. It's, how did he describe it? Dinner with Andre meets Friday the 13th or something like that.
Nice.
Because there's a lot of
it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's not. So there's some fun actiony parts, but most of it is based around this conversation between the slasher in this area and the sheriff, who is his nemesis, and apparently they are not. It's a more complicated relationship than that. I don't know. It was really fun. I had fun playing the crazy girl in it, and we got to film in a local jail cell for part of it. And I only locked my friends in once. It was totally an accident.
Nice.
I swear to God.
Quote unquote.
I had to run around to the police who were in the other end of the station. I'm like, I left the door shut. I'm sorry. So, it was funny.
Awesome. Yeah, it's up on Amazon, I believe. So if any of our listeners want to check it out, last time I checked, it was up on there, and that was a few months ago that I saw it. But as far as I know, it's on there.
That's where I've been telling people to go, so I hope that's where it is.
But it's definitely very. I just love the indie horror stuff. I feel that when you look at the theatrical stuff, the stuff that's coming from the mainstream, there's some good stuff. But there's a lot of it, and we're just seem to be stuck in this rut ever since Paranormal Activity came out. Everything's demons, ghosts, possessions, yada yada. I feel like nowadays, if you want actual original ideas, a lot of it's going to be from the indie side of things. Yeah,
that's very true. But some of them, like Mike Flanagan, who I don't know if anybody knows his work. He's done Oculus, and he did a movie called Hush, and he did Gerald's Game, which was amazing.
Oh yeah.
But some people might not know is that he was way back when, 2003 when we filmed, he was the director of photography for the original Chainsaw Sally movie.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
So
That's amazing.
We knew him when he was just
So I haven't seen Gerald's Game yet, but Hush was amazing.
Oh, yeah, Hush was amazing. And Gerald's Game, he did a brilliant job with that. And that's really a difficult book to take to film, because it's so. Yeah. The premise of the movie is almost entirely inside that woman's head, and so I was wondering, I'm like, you're going to have to really be careful with how you go about this. But the way he approached it was really brilliant, I think. He's a great filmmaker. I'm so glad that he went out there and actually really, really made it for himself really well, I think. He's really talented.
Definitely. Have there been, what other movies have you seen recently that you liked?
Oh, Lord. You're going to put me on the spot. I'm going to forget everything I've watched. Let's see. Well, I watched It, even though that was last year, but I've been watching It again and again since it came on.
I've seen it
Blu-ray
5 times, and I just finally got the Blu-ray from my birthday a couple weeks ago.
Really good.
Listening to the audiobook again for the billionth time, because
which version?
Anyone who knows me knows this. Anybody who doesn't, I am a friggin' Stephen King fanatic completely. There aren't very many people I would lose my head about, but if I ever met Stephen King, I'd probably turn into a babbling idiot.
I'm with you there. Which version?
Awesome. I used to live in Maine, and there was this fair every year called the Freiburg Fair. And Stephen King would come, and he would just walk around the fair. He would just.
So, which version of the It audiobook did you listen to?
It's a version read by Steve Irwin, I think his name is. Let me check.
It's funny because really there's actually an uncut version.
The one who did Wings Guy, the one who was on the Shining miniseries.
Yeah.
He reads it, and he does a really good job, especially with the creepy Pennywise voices.
Oh, nice.
He's wonderful. Because he really, he doesn't read it like, he does some just basic narration, but when it comes to the character voices, I guess because he's an actor, he really kind of inhabits and really gets into it and really puts forth the drama and the scary shit, and it's wonderful.
A side thing about that is he actually, you know how he created the extended version, the uncut version of The Stand?
Yes.
He did the same thing with it, but the only way you can experience the uncut version is a special audiobook.
Oh, really?
Yep. It only came out in audiobook form. It was just one of those things that he decided to do.
I'm going to have to... I wonder if that's the one that I'm listening to. I don't think it is, though.
It would say right in the title.
Yeah, I would have to look at the title and the credits, which, I just listened to it.
Yep. It was an Audible exclusive, I believe.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, there's no print version of it? There's actually an audiobook that's longer than the print version?
That is correct. It was this big thing that he did with Audible to promote the fact that, he was coming to Audible. And, because originally all his books were just, on cassettes through that old company that he used to use. But when Audible started up, he made that switch and he created this special version of it that's longer. I've actually heard it only once because my brother owns it and I sat and listened to all the parts that were different.
Is it worth it? Is the different stuff awesome?
I don't want to tell you anything because it actually adds a lot more about Bob Gray, because Bob Gray is actually who the entity is, whereas Pennywise is just one of the branches of Bob Gray. So you actually get more about Bob Gray, and because he's a god in that universe and stuff. So it's a lot more background stuff on Bob Gray and different little story flavors that get added in because of it. And you see more of the direct connection to Dreamcatcher because he's also the entity in Dreamcatcher.
Right. Oh, cool! I like that. Awesome. Dreamcatcher was that was a weird one.
I hated the book. I'm not gonna lie. I did not like the book at all.
The movie was a train wreck.
I'm opposite. I like the movie only because of the actors. I like the actors in it, but other than that, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
But the book was just bad, in my opinion. It's the only Stephen King book I've ever read that I was like, man.
Was it written like? Well, I don't know. I felt like it was really a lot more scattered than anything else he's done. It was kind of. It's not.
He was having some
terrible,
issues.
But it's just kind of all over the place.
It was during one of the times that he went to rehab that he wrote that book.
Oh, okay.
From,
you know what?
From the drug and alcohol use. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense because that's how it reads. Okay. That clears that up.
I heard apparently he doesn't even remember writing Cujo.
He doesn't. There's actually about 4 or 5 of his books that he doesn't even remember writing, including Under the Dome. He had written Under the Dome and lost it and forgot it existed until his wife found it in a box and said, and then read it without him knowing about it and then said, you need to publish this. And he's like, publish what?
Jeez. Thank God for
that's his best epic. That actually blew The Stand out of the water for me, which is rare.
Yeah, I liked Under the Dome a lot.
Yeah, it was the show not so much, but the book was great.
Yeah, but a round of applause for Tabitha King because
you'd be surprised how much of this stuff that she's found.
She dug Carrie out of the trash.
Yep.
The first one that was published and said, "Hey, this is good. What are you throwing it away for?" And now we have Under the Dome and probably a bunch of other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of his shorts and stuff that she specifically saved too that he didn't like and threw out. But she would literally go behind him his entire career as a writer and just take stuff out of the trash and out of his throwaway bit and just holds on to it and then gives it to him later and he rereads it. He either fixes it or he's like, I don't know why I didn't like this in the first place.
Yep.
Remember he did that thing for a few books where he wrote as Richard Bachman?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yep, he did that because he was so famous as Stephen King that he wanted to know, whether his books were garbage or not. Because if you're Stephen King, people are going to buy your stuff no matter what and not be honest with you. So he wanted to kind of gauge his own career, his own writing style by writing as someone else. And then he killed Richard Bachman off.
Right. Yeah, I just read one of the Bachman books, The Regulators.
Yeah.
Well, reread it, I should say, because I read it a bunch before. Yep. It is a wonderfully disturbing, messed up book.
It is. And then his book, The Dark Half, was all about him killing off his Richard Bachman personality.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's why I kind of got the impression that's what that was about.
It's the first book of his I ever read as a child, and it's that and it are my favorites.
Nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. I used to have a hardcover first edition copy of it.
Yep, me too, until my ex-wife decided it needed to go with all my other books.
Oh.
It was heartbreaking.
Wah, wah.
Yep.
Yeah, Night Shift was one of the first things. Well, it was definitely the first Stephen King book I read. I snuck it off my mom's bedside table when I was like, I don't know, elementary school age. I think 4th grade. Something like that.
That's the one with Graveyard Shift inside of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my public speaking professor in college was actually in the Graveyard Shift movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was.
Did he get to fight a rat?
By a giant rat. Yep.
Nice.
There was actually a lawsuit that happened for the name Graveyard Shift, because there's actually another series of films that existed at the time when that came out. It's about a vampire cabbie in New York. And there was a little bit of a lawsuit where Stephen King actually had to pay out a little bit of money when he released that, because back then, it was unheard of that you would release a movie that had the same title as another movie. These days, people don't
right.
do it.
Yeah, it happens a lot more often.
Yeah.
All over the place.
I know a lot of weird random facts.
Like that movie Creep. There's at least 2 movies with that name. Remember that? Everyone knows about the found footage one with like the creepy psycho dude.
Yeah.
But there's also like this British one from like 2006 about this like mutant creature in a subway tunnel.
Yeah. The funny thing is about the newer Creep, the found footage one, is that dude's actually a comedian. Him and his brother write for a comedy show called The League, and he actually acts as one of the main characters.
I totally see that. I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised.
Yep, that's his thing. Him and his brother were comedy writers turned horror writers for Creep.
Because I can totally see that he kind of has like comedic timing.
Oh yeah,
in his like acting, I think.
Yeah, in his shows, he's absolutely hilarious. Like he steals the spotlight in every show he's in.
I love
that. Sounds awesome. I'm sitting here looking on my computer and I'm looking up Creep just to see, because I haven't seen it. And of course, what comes up? The first thing that comes up is Radiohead, not the movie.
Of course, yeah.
That is not the Creep I was talking about.
1 and 2.
Yep, they were fantastic movies. I really enjoyed them. I'm a sucker for found footage, though. That's my favorite, subgenre of horror.
I'm stoked. I found out my Jesse. You've seen Be My Cat, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, just found out that's going to be going up on the Screenbox.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you heard of Be My Cat, a film for Anne?
Wait, what's it called?
Be My Cat, a film for Anne.
Oh, no, I have not seen that.
You should definitely watch it. From the outside perspective of someone that didn't make it, it's really good.
I executive produced that one. That was the first one I signed on for. I was back in college still. It's actually Romania's first ever found footage movie.
Oh, fun.
It's English language, though. It's about this young Romanian filmmaker who sees the movie Dark Knight Rises and becomes obsessed with Anne Hathaway. So he makes this video. He's basically talking to the camera, talking to Anne Hathaway, trying to convince her to come to Romania to be in his movie. He tricks these 3 local actresses into being in this film, telling them it's the actual movie when really it's kind of like test footage to show Anne his directing skills. But things kind of just spiral out of control, and he's insane, and people start dying.
And mayhem ensues.
Adrian is, and I mean this in the best way, the writer-director star, Adrian is insane. I mean that in the best way, if Adrian is listening. He lived as his character for a month. Yep. The only way that the actresses knew if he was speaking as the director or speaking as the actor were if he was speaking in Romanian, he was the director. If he switched over to English, he was his character.
Nice.
Oh, that's interesting.
They filmed over 24 hours worth of footage and then edited it down to about 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty nuts.
That must have been an intense shoot. I like that stuff when people can get immersed.
Yeah.
Well, I like watching it. It's different to be in it. Sometimes it's good.
Oh, it's like there's so much stuff. Like the actresses were all like super method actors too. Like there was this one scene, and it's still in the movie. If you watch it, where he's harassing one of the actresses, and she calls the police, and you see the cops pull up. Her character felt threatened, so she actually called the police. That's actually the police pulling up, answering a call.
Whoops.
Luckily, they were understanding and knew a little bit. They actually were familiar with the term method acting, but that's still in the movie, so that added a nice little bit of production value.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the couple of times I've sunk into method acting type of things, it's really, I mean, it's kind of neat. It's kind of a fun ride. I've never done anything for that long of a period of time, just for like a few hours at a time. But I mean, it's kind of a wonderful experience when you realize after you come out of it that you actually thought you were that person. Like, I mean, you know you're not, but getting so into a role like that, it's really neat. But I mean, sometimes it can be a little, you might have that little bit of adrenaline, and I was just really stressed out for a long time. I need a book. Something.
What do you think of found footage as a whole? Like, are there any found footage films that you enjoy, April?
Let's see. Generally, I like them if the camera movement is not crazy shaky, because I get motion sick easy.
Right.
And I want to, like Blair Witch made me want to throw up. Not because it was a bad movie, but because it was moving all over the place. And I mean, it just depends on character development. I think I don't know if it really counts as found footage. Cloverfield 2 was that really found footage?
2,
no.
wasn't
not
so
the
much.
second one. The first
it
one
wasn't
was.
Really, no.
The first one was.
Yeah, the first one was, and I enjoyed how that went. But yeah, I mean, it's just when it gets really shaky, I have to look away. But that's physical. That's not whether or not I'm enjoying it. I like the concept behind it. I think it's for a while. I know because of Blair Witch, it got to be like a trendy thing, which is the paranormal activity happened, and it was kind of. I think that's where Cloverfield ended up blossoming from that trend too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's one I've seen that was really good. I can't think of the name of it because it's just not the tip of my tongue right now. But yeah, I like them. I mean, if they're done well, like any movie, if I like the characters, if it's characters, even if they're scary or evil or awful, if I'm interested in them, if they have charisma, then I'm into the movie, whether it's found footage or not found footage or whatever.
There's a couple you should definitely check out. Rec 1 and 2. They're Spanish films. Really good. The first one was remade over here as Quarantine.
Oh, yeah, I liked Quarantine.
Yeah, this is they took it in a different direction than they did in the original franchise. Like the Quarantine, they did a sequel to Quarantine, and they took it out of the found footage style and set it in an airport. Rec 1 and Quarantine are basically almost identical, but Rec 2, they continue with the found footage. They continue in the same location where they're still set in that apartment building, and they follow a SWAT team that goes in the aftermath too, and they deal with what's going on there.
That makes more sense than totally changing location.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, cool.
I'll have to check out those versions of it. Because, I thought Quarantine was really fun. Also, I just really like Jennifer Carpenter.
Definitely. Are there any, what are you thinking of, like, any of, like, the TV series? Like, we're seeing, like, a real boom in TV horror these days.
Yeah.
Shit, yes, it's wonderful. I'm very happy about it. Well, of course, I'm watching American Horror Story every year. Because it's wonderful. I just got done, just for the hell of it, marathoning from the very beginning again.
Well, I'm doing that right now.
And, I actually stopped right at last season because I didn't feel like watching Cult again. I thought Cult was pretty good, but it's so political, and I'm watching American Horror Story for escapism, and I don't really want to be reminded about the real world.
Yeah, we're
So,
like in
I will
Roanoke
say,
Nightmare right now, like going slow on it because I'm kind of dreading getting the
right.
cult again.
I will say the very first episode, the main character, well, one of the main bad guy character who is like a Trumpaholic, when the election is announced and he is thrilled and he starts like, doesn't he like rub Cheetos all over his body or something?
Yes, he does.
That I just about died laughing. I thought that was great. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, it's entertaining, but I don't want to watch it. But this season, Apocalypse is really pretty cool. I'm very much enjoying the long-haired bad guy.
You know who he is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't he the baby from the first one?
Yep, because the Antichrist could only be born from the combination of a human and a spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, which is actually, that's why I went back to watch from the beginning, because I never finished season 1. I had tried it 3 times and couldn't get through it because I just didn't the characters just didn't hook me in.
Yeah,
but I have other people who are, including my older daughter, who's like, this is the best one. It's my favorite season. I'm like, really?
See, for me, it's all about Freak Show.
Right. So I buckled down and I'm going to do this time. I'm going to watch the whole thing. So I finally did. And I just kept on, every time I got a little annoyed, I would just look at Jessica Lange and feel better about the world, because Jessica Lange is good at everything she does.
I'm so glad we're getting her back.
Oh, me too. Yep. Me too. I can't wait. But yeah, I think Coven was my very favorite of the seasons, and Freak Show I
my
liked
favorite
this
so
time.
far.
Yeah, this time when I watched Freak Show, I just hit mute every time they did the songs, because the songs made me furious the first time I watched it, not because they're badly done, but because they're modern songs in this wonderful 1930s, 40s world where it's just, there is a rich musical tradition right there in that time period that they could be pulling from, and then to throw in like Nirvana, I'm like, I don't want to hear Nirvana or Fiona Apple right now.
Yeah. I would say they sang them well, but I felt the same way the first time. But like, you know what film that show is largely based on, right?
Freaks.
Yep, by Todd Browning. It was the first time they ever used actual people, freaks is what they called them, in a film.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Freaks is one of my favorites.
And only about half the cast in the show are actual freaks. The rest of them are all, computer generated.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Like, I had no idea that the really tiny girl, Ma Petite, I thought, that was an effect. But no, she's actually that small.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She's adorable.
And a couple of them have passed away. The one that played Meep, he actually did pass away in real life, and he was that tiny.
Aw.
Yeah, that was something we did, because we ended up dedicating the last Golden Rake Awards to him, because he was actually in one of the movies that was submitted that year, and
awesome.
We ended up he died shortly after the show, so we posthumously retroactively dedicated it to him.
That's nice.
It is nice, yeah. He was a hell of an actor.
It's always horrible whenever that stuff happens,
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it was a very good season. I liked how it was written. I really liked Neil Patrick Harris popping in and being a freakazoid. He's so funny.
Him and his life partner were supposed to be the gay couple in the first series, and they turned it down. And he had since been begging Ryan Murphy to be reconsidered for another part, because in interviews he said the biggest mistake of his career was turning down the role in Murder House.
I would have loved for him to show up as a regular seasonal, one of the cast members. I really like that there's a troupe of actors basically that just keeps going around.
Yeah, I like how. Yeah, I really do love how the same faces keep turning up each season.
Yeah, and every now and then they're one of their other characters, but not always. So you don't know for a few minutes. Like Queenie showing up in Hotel, which I loved Hotel. She showed up, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Oh, there she goes. Okay. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was a little bit anticlimactic, I felt.
It's really bad, because she'd already been killed before. We never actually saw her body. We only saw her lay there bleeding.
That's true.
Yeah. that's true. And she's a witch, so
yeah. That's if you
Well,
look at the message boards, that's one of the big point of contention right now is whether or not she's actually dead.
yeah, well, there's supposed to be. I mean, Coven's supposed to be worked into this current season. It's mostly season 1 and 3, I think, that are going to pop up.
If you look at it actually and really pay attention to details, we've been like this time around. My fiance and I watching them and found even more connections to other seasons.
Awesome.
Interesting.
Like especially Roanoke.
Oh, Roanoke?
Oh yeah, Roanoke's definitely tied to Murder House. Pigman.
Oh.
Pigman is originally mentioned in Murder House.
It was in Murder House.
By one of the guys from Modern Family is in it.
Yeah,
and he mentioned Pigman, and then they bring it back in Roanoke. It's like her and I, like, there's just all these little details that we notice more of them every time we watch it through, which is why we watch it through every year.
It's so fun.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I forgot about Pigman. I know that the oh no, she's the reporter. That wasn't season 6. She's from season 7. One of the actresses is playing her character from season 7. I was thinking it was the season 6 character. But, oh my God, it's all getting all mixed up. Whatever.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it gets a little confusing.
Yes, but that's okay. I'm writing it out. It's awesome. But yeah, so yes, that's the one that's obviously most on my mind.
I know, I'm really looking forward to a couple of the upcoming shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, which ones have you heard
They're doing
about?
a Child's Play TV show.
Oh yeah.
What?
It's the direct sequel
to
Cult.
They're doing this really weird thing right now because basically, they had
Cult
of Chucky come out.
I did see an ad for that or something.
Yeah.
They post about it or something like that.
They're doing this weird thing, and this is actually something that for some reason I always find interesting is like looking into like these things that have to do with like the rights, the copyrights, licenses.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always find this fascinating. But okay, so they had Cult of Chucky, which was the latest Chucky movie come out.
Right.
Now the follow up to that is not going to be a movie. The follow up to that is going to be a TV series, a Chucky TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, while they have this continuation, MGM is making a new Child's Play reboot movie because they still own the rights to the title Child's Play, which is why we haven't seen Child's Play in the title since Child's Play 3. We've seen Bride, Seed, Curse, and Cult of Chucky. So they still own the title, but they don't own the character Chucky. So they're going to basically do a reboot with like a different doll, which in this reboot is going to be like some like just super high-tech doll that runs amok.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Chucky. So we're basically going to get a brand new reboot Child's Play, and then we're going to get a Chucky TV series.
and another couple films for Mancini, because he's already announced that beyond the TV show, they do have more films in the work too.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So if they're already planning that far ahead, I mean, are they planning for this TV series to be, have you read if they're planning for this TV series to be like short-lived? Is it just going to be like a mini series or something? Or?
The initial plan was for it to be like a season or two to tell, more of the story of Cult, add in a lot of stuff that they couldn't do in the movies just to have more, expansion of the universe. But things they've been talking about changing that here in the last month. Whereas, if it's a hit, they'll just keep it on going, sort of like a, Ash vs. Evil Dead situation. But unlike that situation, when the movie goes off the air, they'll just go back to movies after that.
Well, there you go.
Because he's Don Mancini and he can. And it's worth noting that
I love Don Mancini. I love Chucky. It's the only one where the creator is still in control of the franchise and still putting out new material instead of just doing like reboots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's the only one. Child's Play is the only series left that has pretty much all the original people, right down to the production crew.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yep. I like Mancini because he also made some of my other favorite movies, but some of his lesser known movies, actually. Yeah, that too.
I think that was his first one.
Yep.
And then I also heard that they are doing, but we we mentioned Blair Witch earlier. They're actually doing a Blair Witch Project TV series.
I'm dying for that. I love that. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I've actually been out to Maryland and to Burkittsville on accident. My band that I toured with for 10 years was doing a show out in Baltimore, and we were like, we don't want to stay at a hotel, it's expensive, let's find a campground. So we drove away from Baltimore and up over these mountains, and we're like, oh, this place looks beautiful, let's camp here. We get out, we pay our fee, we set up our tents, and we start leaving back towards Baltimore, different routes, and we see the sign. And we're like, holy shit. So we went back that night, not sober, and like they had an actual Blair Witch tour that took you out to Coffin Rock in the middle of the night. And of course, I did take a rock home with me, I'm not gonna lie. But the weird thing about it is there were no insects. This was like early fall, there was no insects. We didn't even so much as see a squirrel or a bird the whole time we were there. It was just like a dead zone.
As somebody who lives in Maryland, there should have been lots of bugs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were everywhere else. But as soon as we went to that area in those woods, there was just nothing. No bugs. We didn't hear any animals. Wow. Didn't see any animals. Just nothing.
Maybe.
Yeah, I love Blair Witch. There's so much more to it than just the movies that people don't know about. There's comic books. There was a trilogy of early generation computer games that went way into just the backstory.
I still own it because it came with the special edition.
Oh, you have those?
Yeah, if you bought the double disc that had 1 and 2, it came with a Blair Witch necklace. It came with the temporary tattoos and the games, and I still have that whole collection with the games.
Oh, that's awesome.
The temporary tattoo is even still inside the box.
Yeah, I even like the new one. Did you see the new Blair Witch, April?
No, I have not. I've seen the first couple of movies.
Well, we don't talk about two.
Yeah, the third one was marketing genius. I loved what they did with it. They marketed it for the first 6 months. They marketed it under the title The Woods. Then at this huge convention, they play a new trailer for it. And at the end of the trailer, the woods morphs into the Blair Witch, and everyone just loses their mind.
Oh yeah. Well, I think the way they released the first one, the big media storm, which is still the best marketing for anything since P.T. Barnum.
They invented viral marketing. They single-handedly invented viral marketing.
That was the most amazing marketing.
Oh yeah. And, the weird thing about it is, I've talked to Eduardo, I've talked to a lot of people involved in it. The initial concept of that, there was a ridiculous amount of film, footage that never made it into the movie.
Right.
The initial concept of it. Go ahead.
Did you know in the first movie, you were actually supposed to see the witch?
Yep.
At one point when Heather is running through the woods screaming, and she looks off to her left or whatever, and she's like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that?
Yeah.
They actually had the creature up on the hill. She just never panned over to it.
Yep. She was supposed to, and I got into the moment, and yeah. The cool thing about that is that was also set up as a psychology experiment almost. The actors and actresses weren't given that much information. There were little drop boxes every day that they had to go and find for more supplies and directions, and there would be little envelopes. And you would know something bad was going to happen based on the color envelope you got. Mike got one that told him that he had to lose the map, for example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that caused all that drama that wasn't scripted. Certain
rules
but when they were screwing around with them at night, they were told things would happen at night, but they were never told what. So, that was all their real reactions to what was happening. They had another week or so of filming Heather alone in the woods. And she actually had a nervous breakdown on set, which is one of the reasons why they couldn't legally use a lot of that additional footage. But she actually wrote a book about it because she kept a journal the whole time she was there and actually published it after about a year or two after the movie was out.
That's nuts.
Because she received psychiatric, help after that film because of that film.
Wow.
Yeah, they've, as far as I know, they've never really done much else in movies.
None of them have. Not a single film after that.
They kind of got wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe they got their fill. And they're like, okay, that's good, I'm done.
Now, there are weird rumors about the new one because technically you see Heather in the new one. but no one knows if they actually brought that actress back and didn't credit her, or if they just got someone that looks similar to her, because you actually see what looks like her in a mirror reflection towards the end of the movie.
You don't see her clearly. It's really kind of, it's very blurry. And I mean, it doesn't even need to be a girl that looks just like her. It could just be like a girl with the same hair color and skin color, and that's true.
That's true.
I mean, it's for all intents and purposes, we wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of rumors about that on like the message boards and stuff for that film, and yeah, and I thought the new one was beautifully done. It was a beautiful follow up.
I loved it.
And
it's a completely different animal than the first one, but I loved it.
Neat.
Yeah, you know how you saw the first one. You know how the first one was like this real slow burn psychological one. Well, this one halfway through, it just hits a certain, like a single point. You can point out exactly where it happens. Like halfway through, it just goes completely batshit crazy.
And not near as much shaky footage. Like the only time it's shaky really is when they're using the drone. But other than that, the footage wasn't like super shaky or, but they did that on purpose for the original one to elicit that feeling of being sick.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's used judiciously, I guess is the word, it works well because it adds to the chaos.
Yeah, but they cut down on that a lot in the
But you're saying this one I can watch
sequel.
and I don't have to take a Dramamine ahead of time or anything.
That's correct. There's a lot of other good shows coming out too. Like my biggest piece of excitement is the Nightbreed television show, because that is literally my favorite book / movie of all time. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
This actually takes place instead of the Hellraiser TV show that we were promised. But he has said that if this Nightbreed show goes well, that he may go ahead and do the Hellraiser show, because he was supposed to write this.
I was looking forward to that. I was looking forward to that Hellraiser show because I feel like Hellraiser is perfect for a TV series, where like an anthology TV series, where like each episode is its own self-contained story, focusing on like different Cenobites and different people like opening the box.
And I mean, and everything's. I mean, the production value in television series now is so high that they could really do. I mean, they could do it justice.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing was, it was very heavily tied to Doug, and Doug caused some serious problems between himself and Clive.
Oh,
really? There were a series of emails and conversations based on, Doug was supposed to be in the newest Hellraiser. It was always planned.
Yeah.
Doug had a fit because of the non-disclosure agreement that was in his contract. He was not allowed to speak about the movie at all in public. And if you go through the list, it mentions all the places in public that you might not think about. And the thing that pissed Doug off was that they literally in the contract, I've seen it. It says that you are not even allowed to talk about it in a public bathroom because you don't know who's in the stall.
Oh my God.
So, and he's like, I'm not allowed to say and do what I want in the bathroom. And that's what he focused on. And in reality, he honestly just wanted to be done with the character. Yeah. And he used that as a point of contention and went off on Clive pretty hard about it. And that's one of the reasons why this show is also, because it faltered before this happened, but Doug and Clive already had a rocky relationship before that happened.
Well, the new guy in Judgment wasn't bad. I mean, the guy in Revelations was horrible, but the new guy in Judgment wasn't bad.
The new guy actually kind of reminded me of a young Doug.
Yeah.
Like, I was really impressed with the new guy. I didn't see enough of him, but I loved him.
I mean, do you basically know what Revelations was, right? Revelations was essentially an ashcan movie that they just released.
They had to make it in order to keep the rights.
They were gonna, because with licenses, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yep.
They were getting close to the end of their term, so they had to put something out. So they put out something just crap and cheap.
Doug was supposed to be in that.
Instead of shelving it like what they did with the '90s Fantastic Four, they ended up putting it out.
Yep. Doug was supposed to be in that one too, but he said he felt too rushed and just didn't want to have anything to do with it. So yeah, that was the beginning.
He looked at the script and said, "You guys aren't even trying."
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the last couple. I'm weird. Like the first two are amazing, but I actually liked some of the ones that were released straight to DVD because they actually more encompass the original books. Like Pinhead's name was never Pinhead. It was always supposed to be the engineer. That was always his name.
Oh.
And they said, "Oh, there's this guy with pins in his face." So the media started calling him Pinhead because he's not referred to
I mean,
as
that was
Pinhead.
clearly not the character's name. It's just
I actually, I got this book on my Kindle. I have yet to read it because I'm so far behind. I have so many books. But this one author, I forget his name. He's on my Facebook. He wrote a book crossing over Sherlock Holmes with the Hellraiser universe. It's really cool.
That's cool
great.
because in the newest Hellraiser book that Clive just put out like last year, the year before, it actually
the
ties.
Scarlet Gospel?
Yeah, that ties in the investigator from oh my god, I can't remember the Illusion. What's it called? Lord of Illusions.
Lord of Illusions?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It ties in the investigator from that who had already had several other books in Clive's series. So it actually brings two of his biggest characters together.
Very cool.
I like Clive as much as I like Stephen King, so.
Yeah, he's good.
He's definitely very unique. I love his writing style.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I think
definitely.
His imagery is so. I mean, he's obviously an artist when you read the worlds that he creates and the creatures that he creates. I mean, he's very. They're just so original. Some of the characters, some of the monsters and the creatures, like in one of the Aberrat books I read.
I love Aberrat.
I actually have to sit there and really think for a minute before I can picture in my head what it is it's trying to describe. I'm like, wow, that's bizarre. That's out there, buddy. I love it.
And I also love that he does all the paintings that appear in the Aberrat books. Like he has so many paintings up in his home.
Yeah, I believe it. But yeah, it's interesting how non-standard the creatures are. How they're very.
You know what?
I'm reading them and I'm not basing them on anything I've seen anywhere else. They're very.
The thing you have to look at is that him and Stephen King have the same love of the masters of horror. Like they both equally love Poe and Lovecraft, and a lot of their writing
and it's
styles.
Very clear.
Yeah. Whereas I think Clive focuses more on the high fantasy part of Lovecraft. I feel that King, while he has that Lovecraft influence, is focused more on the reality, like the darker reality.
Horror.
That Poe used. Like you can see where they both have the same influence, but they both went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Talking about this right now.
That makes sense.
You know what I want to see is a collaboration, and it just popped in my head just talking about this right now. I want to see a collaboration between Clive Barker and Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, that would be gorgeous.
Oh, it would just look pretty. It would be so amazing to look at.
Did you know that there was supposed to be one?
It would be amazing. That's gotta happen.
There was supposed to be one.
Really?
I'm sure you guys know. I'm sure all about the fact that Guillermo's been trying to do the Mountains of Madness Lovecraft story for a while.
Yeah, was Clive supposed to be involved?
Clive's special effects company and some writing from him were supposed to be involved in the creation of the Elder Things. On top of that, the entire movie was supposed to be funded by Tom Cruise. And as much as a lot of us might not like Tom Cruise is the biggest purveyor of artifacts and memorabilia of Lovecraft in existence.
Really?
That's weird.
That's one of those weird facts that people don't know about.
I don't know how I feel about that.
He has every original manuscript ever made in his home.
Oh my god.
Weird.
I seriously don't know how to feel about that.
Right. It was just one of those really weird things about him that you would not think that someone like him would do that.
Yeah.
But it was actually of all people that brought Clive and that brought the whole team together.
I've noticed some parallels between Scientology and Lovecraft. I'm wondering if you kind of made those parallels as well.
Yeah, there's a number of odd
things
ones
to be paralleling.
Yep. Yeah, there's a number.
But yeah, Guillermo and Clive together. Holy shit, that would be awesome to look at.
Oh yeah, that would be like the dream team, honestly.
That would be amazing.
Yep. It could be anything. I don't care what the story is. It's great that it's Lovecraft. It could be anything. I will watch it.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Anyway, we are at our 1 hour mark.
Yep.
So I do want to thank you for being our guest on this episode, April. Before we sign off, No worries. Before we sign off, is there anything you would like to tell the listeners?
Yeah, I guess so. Just we're in production. Well, this coming year we're going to be in production for one more live action Sally movie while we're waiting for the cartoon to do its thing. The Life and Crimes of Chainsaw Sally. It's
nice.
It's different from everything we've done before, but it's still Chainsaw Sally.
Okay.
So there's still going to be blood and guts, and it's going to be hilarious and probably not scary. Well, not to any horror people because we're also jaded, but
that's true.
People will die. As far as I'm concerned, they'll totally deserve it, and keep an eye out for it. But we'll be all over Facebook, and once we start really getting into it, we'll be all over Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everything else.
All right. Well, very cool. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that. More Chainsaw Sally is always a good thing. So thank you again for being our guest on this episode of Monthly Macabre. And to all listeners, we will see you all next month.
Have a good one, guys.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Have a good